Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the hidden rules of politeness. Seriously, it's this invisible system that shapes every single conversation we have, from just chatting with a friend to, a super high-stakes negotiation. And trust me, once you see it, you will never hear conversations the same way again. You know that feeling, right? That little moment of panic before you ask for a favor, even a tiny one. It just feels, awkward, complicated, maybe even a little risky. Well, it turns out there's some fascinating science behind that feeling, and we're about to dive in. All right, for this whole explainer, let's just use one simple, super universal scenario. You need to ask your roommate to turn down their loud music. Sounds easy enough, but as you'll see, this one little request is the perfect laboratory for understanding the entire system of politeness.
Yeah, because politeness isn't really about manners or just being nice. It's a strategic tool we use to manage our relationships. In linguistics, this field is called pragmatics. Basically, the study of how context totally changes meaning. And the goal is simple: avoid conflict, create harmony. It's this psychological system we're all using all the time, mostly without even thinking about it.
So how do we crack this code? Well, it all comes down to one core concept from sociology: face. And once you get this, everything else just clicks into place.
Okay, now that is the formal, super academic definition from the sociologist Irving Goffman. It sounds a little dense, I know, but what he's really getting at is this. It's about the positive image we're trying to project in any conversation. It's all about how other people see us. So let's just boil it down. Face is simply your public self-image. That's it. It's the version of you that you want the world to see and respect. And politeness, at its very heart, is all the work we do to protect our own face and, just as important, the face of the person we're talking to. And that brings us to this idea, a face-threatening act, or an FTA. This is basically any word or any action that could possibly damage someone's public self-image. And, yep, you guessed it, asking your roommate to turn down their music is a classic face-threatening act.
But hold on, it gets even more interesting. It turns out our face isn't just one thing. Nope, it has two different and sometimes competing sides that we're constantly trying to keep in balance.
So on one hand, you've got positive face. This is our deep need to be liked, to be part of the group, for people to appreciate our choices. It's all about belonging. And on the other hand, you've got negative face. This is our need for freedom, our desire to be independent and not have people tell us what to do.
And this is where it all comes back to our roommate. When you ask them to turn down the music, you're threatening both sides of their face at the same time. You're kind of implying you don't like their music, that's a threat to their positive face, and you're imposing on their freedom to listen to it, a threat to their negative face. No wonder it feels so darn awkward.
So with this double threat on the table, what do? I mean, you don't have to just suffer in silence. Luckily, we all have access to this really sophisticated playbook of strategies for handling these situations.
Okay, option number one is the most direct. We call it performing the face-threatening act on record and baldly. This just means you say exactly what you mean with zero sugarcoating. No attempt to soften the blow at all.
That's what it sounds like. It's clear for sure, it's efficient, but wow, is it risky? When you use a command like that, you're basically assuming you have power over the other person. You're completely ignoring their need to be liked and their need for freedom, and you could easily cause the exact conflict you're trying to avoid.
Now, a much more common strategy is to still make the request directly, on record, but to do it with what we call redress. This means you use specific language to soften the request and show you're paying attention to their face needs. And this is just a brilliant example of how much work goes into one polite sentence. Let's break this down. First, I can see how much you're enjoying your music. Bam, that takes care of their positive face. You're validating their choice. Then the entire rest of the sentence is all about softening the threat to their negative face. Phrases like, I hate to ask, and if you wouldn't mind, acknowledge you're imposing, while a little makes the request seem smaller. It's a masterclass in saving face. Okay, your final option is to go off record. This is the most indirect strategy you can use. You don't actually state the request at all. You just hint at it. You leave it up to your roommate to figure out what you mean. And this offers maximum protection for everyone's face, because the request itself can be denied. If they don't get the hint, you can both just pretend you never even asked. So you might say something like this. See, you're not talking about the music. You're talking about your work. You're just dropping a hint. The real meaning is implied, not stated. By making it deniable, it saves face for both of you if they decide to just ignore it. And honestly, these are just the tip of the iceberg. Our politeness toolkit is huge. We use little hedges like maybe to sound less certain. We make requests impersonal so they don't feel like a direct command. We use in-group markers like mate or pal to create a sense of solidarity. We're constantly picking and choosing from these strategies without even realizing it.
So that brings us to the final and most important question. How in the world do we know which strategy to use? It feels like intuition, but there's actually a subconscious calculation happening every single time we speak.
Well, linguists and sociologists have basically boiled it down to 3 key variables that we're always weighing. First, there's power. Who's in charge here? Second is distance. How close are you? Are you roommates or total strangers? And third is ranking. Just how big of a deal is the thing you're asking for?
The source material has this fantastic analogy for this. Think of politeness as the volume control on your request. Those 3 variables we just talked about, power, distance, and ranking, tell you exactly how high or how low you need to set that volume to get what you want without any social static.
And the logic is actually pretty simple. The bigger the power difference, the more social distance there is, or the bigger the request, well, the more face work you need to do. You have to turn up that politeness volume to make sure the message gets through smoothly.
So here's the big takeaway. Politeness isn't just some random set of rules your parents taught you. It's this dynamic, powerful, and totally logical system. It's like the social software that's always running in the background of our minds, doing these constant, high-speed calculations to help us build relationships and navigate our incredibly complex social world.
So the next time you hesitate before asking a simple question, you'll know exactly why. You're not just being awkward, your brain is running a complex calculation to protect someone's public self-image. Now that you can see the code behind the conversation, what interactions are you going to start seeing in a whole new light?